Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And today I'm bringing you a new and exciting interview episode. My guest today is serial entrepreneur and business coach Pete Mohr. He's also the host of the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast. Pete has owned and operated businesses in the service and retail sector since 1994. He has owned franchises, started his own businesses, and bought and sold some along the way as well. Pete now works with business owners that are usually generating between $1 million and $10 million in annual sales and are looking to break through to the next level. So for all you mission-driven and ambitious entrepreneurs out there who are listening to us today, I'm sure Pete will share some gold nuggets with us today that will help you grow and scale your business. Welcome, Pete, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Oh, well, I am excited for our conversation, excited to be here, and excited to tell some stories for your audience, Claudia. So let's get at it.
Yeah, let's get at it. Okay, yeah. let's take a trip down memory lane to start this conversation. So think back to the very first business you started. What kind of business was it? Why did you start it? And how did it work out for you?
Well, I am one of those people that they talk about kind of as a serial entrepreneur. And, my first business, I was 9 or 10 years old. And my mom was making crafts and selling them to craft stores. And she had one particular one that I could do. So she said, you should do this. And when I go to the different craft stores, you can come with me and you can sell. They were teasel hedgehogs. So they were made of a teasel burr on a little piece of bark. And, it was just this cute little three hedgehogs basically on this teasel bark that I sold for $3 each. And, I could make back then, and this is 40 years ago, I could make back then about 3 of those an hour. So I was making $9 an hour as a 9 or 10-year-old kid. Nice. At the time when minimum wage was about $4.25 an hour. And so, that's got me started. And I had landscaping businesses and lawn cutting businesses and different things along the way, all sort of through schooling and university and what have you. And I worked for somebody for about 6 months after university and decided that I've got to do my own thing. And I've never looked back. I've had different businesses along the way.
Wow, what a story. Now, if you could go back in time, are there things that you would do differently a second time around?
I don't spend much time going back in time. I'm kind of future focused on things. I live my life the way I like to live it when I'm in the present moment. And so there's not a whole lot I would change because what I did made me who I am today. And, that shapes my future. So are there some regrets along the way? Sure, there are. But I think there always will be. And from that perspective, I don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about what could have been. I think about what can be and looking ahead to the future, and that's what gets me excited. It's like, okay, if we look ahead to the future and what can we change and who can we help and all the different things along the way, that's much more energizing to me.
I totally get that. And I didn't really mean regrets so much as lessons that you've learned along the way. Because when you look back, we see the lessons and we can take those into the future, right?
Okay. Yeah. So lessons learned. Well, yeah, there's a ton. I think, with everything you do, there's a lesson learned. And that's what makes you, as along the way, as an entrepreneur, every one of those little bits makes you a better entrepreneur. I mean, you take those lessons and you learn from them so that you can not experience those again. And in my case, with coaching, helping others, that's a big part. It's like, oh, I've been there, I've done that. So this is what I experienced, so that that in order to help you make your decision. And what are some of those things? Well, some of them are when you're young and new. It's like there is more to life than running a business. And, I use this term all the time that says you own your business and it shouldn't own you. And I've been there before where, I don't have much hair on top of my head for those that are watching video. I've pulled it all out already. And from that perspective, I've been there where, you really feel as though your business owns you. You're fully involved in that. And when you're owned by your business, you can't be a successful part of other relationships, your family, your friends, all these other things. They take the toll for you being super involved and super in the business. And, in the startup phase, it's understandable that you got to be, more present and more involved in all that other stuff in that startup phase, for the first 1 to 3 years. But after that sort of thing, it's like, okay, well, let's take your life back a little bit here. And I find a lot of entrepreneurs don't. And I find that's kind of a sad thing. So yeah, have I missed, some hockey games and I've missed family trips, in the past, because I didn't have my business set up in a way that I was worry-free if I went away, so those kind of things along the way, it's like, been there, done that, don't want to do that again. So that's why, I've set up these different processes and different systems and thinking tools and things like that I've used along the way, to get my head around what I need to do in order to live the life that I want to live, because my true goal is that entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of their communities. And if I can help the entrepreneur take back their time, then they will actually use that time to support other people within their communities. And if you think about it, most of the coaches on any of your soccer team, lacrosse, or any of the different teams, swimming, most of them are entrepreneurs. Most of the leaders in your churches, most of the leaders in any of the community organizations, most of the donors for almost all of the charities to build the new wing on the hospital, to build the community playground, most of those are entrepreneurs. And in order for me, if I look at what I do, and if I can help those entrepreneurs give them back more time so they can support these other things, helping their communities, give them more money, help them have better operations so that they can then give back to their communities in some small way, I've done my part to help that community, because all these entrepreneurs are the lifeblood basically of their small communities. And, that's a big passion for me around this idea of saying that, I have to free up their overwhelm. I have to sort of help them get through that sort of stuff so that they can enjoy a better life. And when they enjoy a better life, just our nature as entrepreneurs, it's like we want to help other people do the same and give back.
I love that. And we will dig deeper into what you just said. But before we do, as a serial entrepreneur, you have bought and started more than just one business. Would you say that entrepreneurship is addictive?
For sure. I kind of mentioned it right off the bat, telling you about all my little businesses that I had sort of before I had a formal business. And, it's like, I just don't think I want to work for somebody else. I do want to be my own boss. And, being your own boss is not for everybody. Yeah. There's, 7 or 10% of people, depending on the country you're in, type thing, that are your own boss. And it's not for everybody. And that's okay. But if it is for you, it's really an interesting life, and you have to be okay with taking risks. And, we've lost on some of those risks for sure. We've closed stores, we've shut things down that weren't working, but we've really gained as well. And it's not always about the monetary gain. We have gained monetarily, but it's about these other gains. It's about your time. It's about, we just took a month off to go to Florida, and that was something that I set up and scheduled because I wanted that. That was something that I wanted. And I set my business up so that it gave that to me. For somebody else, it might be, I want, it doesn't matter. Everybody's unique wants. I only want to work mornings. I don't want to work afternoons. I only want to work Saturday and Sunday. I don't want to work during the week. I mean, it doesn't matter what those things are, but the freedoms of aligning your business to give you back what you want in your life so that you feel good about your life is a really important thing. And I think that's the thing about entrepreneurism is when you start seeing this, it's like, I think I want more. And what else could I do? And, and it's not always about, well, I'm wanting more money. It's about who can you help? And if you have that obsession about, transforming, whatever their problem is into a better life, then it's like, I got to go problem solve this and see what I can do and figure it out because I want everybody else to experience that transformation. And that's what everybody buys. Whether you're buying a good or a service, you're always buying a transformation, right?
Right. But fair warning, I have to go on a little rant here because it's something that I don't hear many people talk about. But I do believe that entrepreneurship can become a serious addiction, just like gambling. And gambling is so addictive because we get this huge spike in the neurotransmitter dopamine when we anticipate a potential win. So dopamine is your body's one of your body's feel-good chemicals that's involved in learning and motivation and pursuit in general. So you crave that good feeling, and that's you just keep pursuing that win at all costs. And just like gamblers who can't stop gambling because they get this kick out of anticipation, the potential win, and this is just too enticing to them. A lot of entrepreneurs seem to fall into the same kind of trap, where to them, nothing compares to the excitement of building and growing their businesses. And in that process, a lot of those high achieving entrepreneurs lose the meaning that initially compelled them to start their own businesses, and it becomes all about the chase. They put growing their businesses before everything else. They sacrifice their health, relationships, and or happiness in order to achieve that one goal of growing their business. And I think looking at it this way highlights the addictive potential of entrepreneurship. Now, you might listen to this and think, well, if it might look like an addiction on the surface, but isn't it a form of positive addiction though, because it helps you become successful? And to me, the answer is yes and no, because that type of single-minded focus and relentless pursuit very often does help entrepreneurs become wealthy and get recognized for their achievements and create powerful businesses. But also often along the way, those ambitious entrepreneurs, they lose their balance. And what started out as this immensely exciting and rewarding experience slowly loses its magic, and then they find themselves constantly dissatisfied, just going through the motions and always chasing the next big thing. It might feel like they're on a treadmill, running nonstop without getting anywhere. And what's happening on a physiological level is that their dopamine system is out of whack, and they don't get the same level of dopamine release in response to the work they're doing. And oftentimes that leads them to work even harder, trying to bring back that initial good feeling, which doesn't work that way and often leads them straight into burnout. Is that something that you have experienced too, or something that you've noticed in your coaching clients?
Absolutely. I mean, by nature, entrepreneurial people have an addictive. They
do, right?
it's their nature. You find a lot of high level entrepreneurs are addicted to drugs. They're addicted to alcohol. They're addicted to sex. They're addicted to a lot of different things. And I think, you'll find it if you study any entrepreneurs, really. I mean, it's a very, very popular, or not popular, but a very common thing that entrepreneurs have addictive personalities. And Joe Polish, who's a wonderful marketer and runs the Genius Network. That's his mission, is to help addicts that are going through that. Has all sorts of information and all sorts of interesting stuff there. I think the way I look at that, and when I start working with clients, I've developed what we call a one-page planner, and it's a planning for a book for entrepreneurs, really. And it starts out with those buckets of life that you were talking about, sort of, Claudia. Your health, your wealth, your mission, your purpose, the relationships that you want, and understanding what those are. And go back to our earlier conversation around you own your business and it shouldn't own you. So the first part is, what is it you truly want out of life, so that you build the business to support that, not the other way around. Like what you were just talking about is the other way around, where you as are just a cog in the wheel of supporting that business all the time, right? Yeah. That's that nature. Well, I'm trying to reverse that in saying that your business should actually support you and what you want. So understanding what you truly want as an entrepreneur out of your life is the most important thing in order to get the business going the way you need it to. So, and that's what happens. People start 1, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, and they've lost track of why they got into business in the first place. And the reason they got into business in the first place is to have a better life. So what does that better life look like is where you start, or sometimes have to go back to. And that's what I find when the entrepreneurs that I work with, we have to go back and kind of say, okay, well, do you have the relationships that you want? Are you healthy? Because if you're not healthy, both physically and mentally, you can't run a healthy business.
I agree.
Are you getting the right sleep? Are you, are you eating well? All this other stuff, are you exercising? Are you feeling good? Because if you aren't feeling good mentally and healthily, you can't run a healthy business. So to me, that's where it starts, and everything else kind of goes in behind that with regards to what you want out of life. Because you can't, there's an old saying out there that says, that goes something like this. The person who has his health has 1,000 dreams, but the person who does not has but one. Yeah. And I've lived this. I've got both of my parents my mom is a cancer survivor. My dad's going through cancer right now. And, I remember when my mom was on her bed, in pretty bad shape. And she said, all I want to do is to feel better again.
Yeah. I'm a cancer
survivor myself. If you're at that stage, Claudia, you're at that stage where you really can't think of anything other than feeling good again, well, your business is going to suffer. And, at any of those stages along the way, if you're not feeling 100%, you can't give back 100% in the time that you're allocating for leading your business. So all of these things, so important. But it's that clarity and focus of what it is you want out of your life, so that you build the business to give it back. And that's sometimes we have to take a step back in order to understand that again.
Yeah, so true. Totally agree, because that's what I do with my clients as well. Defining those goals and then creating an aligned action plan. So translating the goals into an action plan and taking that action and developing those high performance habits that help you stay healthy along the way. So what does balance look like in your life right now? Can you walk us through a typical day in your life and business?
Sure. I get up typically quite early, usually between 5 and 5:30, and I pour myself. I like bulletproof coffee, so I make a bulletproof coffee. French press a coffee and mix it with my ghee and my MCT oil, basically, and that gets me started. At the same time, I drink a ton of water. So I have a little bit of salt with a big glass of water and fresh lemon. I take a ginger shot, which is ginger and lemon. And then I sit down at my desk, do my journaling, spend half an hour doing my journaling, setting up what I'm going to do for the day, and sort of some other thoughts. I find when I get up in the morning, for me, I find that's when my mind's been, closed down at night, but it's been working at night, and I've got these different ideas about stuff. So I write down quickly, like I'm writing a book right now. It's like, I was just thinking about this, and I really need to add this in the chapter. So I get that down, I get it out of my brain and onto the paper first thing in the morning. And, I start my day. I start working through things. It's 8 o'clock as we're recording this. And so I had my first podcast, but before that, I've got a whole bunch of stuff done already. I feel very productive. By the time 9 o'clock rolls around in the morning, I've got in a half day's work. And to me, that's the best time of the day. So I'm most, ready to roll and get through it, just a ton, very productive. And productivity is an interesting thing, because for me, it's early in the morning, but for somebody else, it could be late at night. And it doesn't really matter, but understanding your rhythm of that sort of stuff. So, I do my most productive work before lunch, and I set up a bunch of stuff after lunch, which doesn't involve as much brain work, might be more sort of menial tasks and different things like that. And then I usually try to, pretty much wrap my day by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and take it easy, enjoy some time with my wife and family, and go for walks, that sort of stuff. And sometimes I inject, going to play a round of golf, or in the winter, going skiing or something like that in the middle of my day, and come back and do a bit. But it really depends. I'm pretty time focused, and I lay everything out in a way so that I've got my own sort of free time, focus time, and flex time that I align and overlay on my calendar to make sure that I'm enjoying the different parts, and giving myself enough time, focus time, and enough free time in order to keep my thoughts right, and move my business ahead, the businesses that I have ahead in a structural manner that's going to give me the life that I want. Right? I'm living what I'm coaching.
That sounds great. Yeah, yeah. I think my day looks pretty similar to yours. I'm also an early bird. I like to do all the thinking stuff in the morning. The focused work in the morning. Now, when you look at your day through that lens of the high performance habits, which of those habits have you found to be the most helpful within, say, the last couple of years to really improve your life or quality of life? Is there something that stands out to you?
I read High Performance Habits, but I don't remember, I can't tell you what the lens, the different ones were. So do you want to refresh me on that? And I can tell you which ones would be more important to me.
Oh, I wasn't talking about the book, the high
Oh, okay.
performance habits, just in
Okay.
general. So for me, high performance habits are all those habits that help you achieve your goal without burning out in the
Yeah. Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about that in your life right now, is there anything that you've adopted, any new habit maybe that
Sure.
you've adopted within the last 1 or 2 years
Yeah.
that really made a difference?
Well, you starting off with that rhythm in the morning is a very important habit for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
have a structured rhythm that I do every single morning, the journaling, the, blah, 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 all these different things. Meditation is another piece of that. And, I read every day, structurally read every day, in order to get through what I want to do. There are many, many different ones, even, the time management and time blocking along the
Mhm.
way. And after that sort of focus block, let's say, standing up, taking a walk, go, even if it's only literally around the house or the office, or maybe going outside for a minute, breath of fresh air, come back in, sit down, get ready. So I've got several different sort of ways and tools that I've found to be more efficient and more effective. And do I use them all the time religiously? No, but a lot of the time I do. And I find when I don't, it's noticeable.
Right, it is.
On the days that I don't journal, and I don't sit down and do here's my 3 priorities for the day and the different things, I don't get them done.
I
I
know,
mean,
but it just is that way, right? For me, I'm pretty good Monday through Friday, and
mhm.
then the weekend is kind of like my flex day or fun days
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it. So I don't
Yeah.
have as much
Yeah.
structure on the weekend, but I also don't get as much done on the weekend, obviously. But that's fine. That's what the weekend is
It
for,
is.
right?
We don't
So
have to be productive 24 hours a
no,
day, 7 days a week.
we don't have to. Now that we know what's essential for you, let's talk about what's essential for a business. Can you please tell our listeners more about the essential 5 P's of business and why those are so important?
Yeah, so I'm sort of working through this book right now, and I'm not sure of the title, but the idea around it is turning your frustrations into freedoms and turning your wants into wins. And we talked a little bit about this transformation, right? And the idea, if you're overworked, overwhelmed, feeling as though your business owns you, you want to make some changes, and these changes and the structure of the 5 P's is an interesting way to look at it. It's what we use and what I've used in the past. So, here are the 5 P's. First, it starts with your purpose. Always starts with your purpose, right? Everything does. And then we're aligning the right product, or if you're a service-based business, the services, we're aligning the process, and we're aligning the people to that purpose so that we can enjoy the right amount of profit. And when the right amount of profit comes, then you can free yourself up. Maybe you can buy other people's time. You can, do what you want to do with that profit. But until you have that certain amount of profit, it's very hard to enjoy some more freedoms. And so it starts with the purpose, and always does. And the last couple of years, been a lot of change. Over every year there's change, but the last couple have been a lot of change. And, for those of us that have been in business for a long time, if you've been in business, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, 20 years, whatever the case is your purpose still what it was 2 years ago?
It can change, right?
Hmm. And what happens is, if the purpose has changed a little bit and you haven't changed your products and services to accommodate that, your clients are going to go elsewhere. They're going to find what they need somewhere else. If their needs have changed a little bit and you're still offering what was offered a couple of years ago because you've always done that. Oh, we've always done it that way, and that's just the way it is. Well, maybe it isn't anymore. And so going back and looking at that purpose is so important. And you could have multiple purposes in your business, but let's just talk about how to develop that purpose and think about it. And the way to do that is, like we talked about before, understanding what their problem is, addressing it through your unique process that's different from anybody else addressing the same problem, so that they can enjoy a better life. Because everybody buys, and they only put their money down when they see a better life. That's the only time they're going to drop money with you or anyone else, whether you're buying a steak for supper on Friday night, or whether you're, buying goods and services for coaching services to help you free up your time, or we own some shoe stores, whether you want to feel great and look fantastic, wearing the shoes that, you walk in with your shoes that you hate and want to get rid of, and you walk out feeling as though I really look great and I feel fantastic now. So, that's the transition. And when you can explain that transition, if the transition doesn't match anymore to your products and your process and some of that, because the transition has changed a little bit because of all the things that have happened in the last couple of years, then it's time to go back and reassess the purpose. And when we start with that, it's like, you got to do some homework on this. And a lot of people just say, oh, we've always done it that way. And it's such a common sort of idea. Well, that's just how we do it. Maybe not. Maybe things have changed, and I'm not saying you need to change 100% of your stuff, but you might need to tweak it a little, 10%, maybe 15%, and just kind of align. So then the next step is to get into the products and the services and the selection there. And what I find, again, as we go back here, it's like, so many of the products and services, we just keep adding products and services to our businesses, but we never delete any. So, we want to, if we think of the sort of 80-20 rule, that 80% is bringing in, most of our business. We want to make sure it's running efficiently, and we want to get the efficiencies out of that so that our clients can get it in a cheaper way, in a faster way, in a better way, with better experience. Of course, that's our core product. But then there's this 10 or 15% that needs to be let go. Just because you've always done something, maybe it doesn't align with the profit anymore. Maybe it's not actually providing the transition and transformation that it used to.
Yeah.
It's time to let some of those things go. And this is where one of the biggest things, you start digging into some of the data and some of the analytics around some of this stuff. It's like, this doesn't make sense anymore. So let it go. And then as the owner, you're always looking for the next best thing that's coming in. So that's that other 10, 15% on the other side, right? It's like, we need to bring this in, test it, and see if it's going to deliver our promise in a better way.
Yeah.
So we've got the promise, we've got the product, and then the next one is the process, right? How many processes are there in your business? Well, let's hope they aren't all in your head, which often happens with serial entrepreneurs. It's like, I know all these things and I know what to do and all this other stuff, but it's not communicated to everybody else around.
True.
How many processes are there in a business? You have to hire, you have to fire, you have to market, you have to sell, you have to do your bookkeeping, you have to, all the human resources stuff, all the operational stuff, how are we going to, down to clean the toilet, like all these different things. Are they being done in a consistent manner that's going to deliver your promise in a better, cheaper, faster way so that you can enjoy more profit and a better business down the road? And this is a big one. Often one of the biggest areas that most entrepreneurs procrastinate because it's so overwhelming.
Yeah, that's right. And I really like what you said about assessing your goals and all your strategies on a regular basis, because what I'm always also seeing a lot is that you start out with a certain target audience, like dream customer avatar, something that you create. And when people start out, it's usually, not always, but oftentimes they focus on an avatar that's very early in their journey, like the journey from where they want to go to where they are right now to where they want to go. But as the coach or the entrepreneur gains more experience and develops their own business, they come to a point where they often find that they do not want to work with those beginners anymore, but then they have to not only update their messaging and their target audience and their products, but they have to go through the entire process that you just outlined, because it's just not a good fit anymore. They don't attract the people that they actually want to work with. They are still stuck with the people they thought initially that they wanted to work with, but that were maybe a pain in the rear, and they didn't want to work anymore. So in order to have the business they want to have, they have to start the entire process and tweak all of these bits and pieces again, right?
For sure. I mean, you said when we started up in the sort of the intro, I work with clients that are doing sort of between 1 and 10 million. I don't work with startups. As a general rule, there's a whole different methodology and a whole different mindset and all around that. I'm working with somebody who's already through the startup and now is looking at this next phase, right? So understanding what levels and what areas, I mean, and that brings us to the next P, which is people. And so, I look at people. One, just like you said, there's 3 different areas. One is your ideal customer, which you just outlined. Who is your ideal customer? Does our promise align? Does our product align? Does our process align? 2, ideal teammate. Do the exact same thing for the ideal teammate. Who's your best ever teammate? Who's your worst ever teammate? Do those lists. You know their names. John was the worst ever. Jim was the best ever. And write down all the stuff that you loved and hated about those people so that you can now attract more and know your messaging and marketing and everything on what you want to do and communicate to attract more of those kind of awesome teammates, but also at the same time, repel the ones that you don't want. And that's communicating what you want and communicating what you don't want is equally important, because it's okay to repel just as much as it's okay to attract.
True.
So the third area is that we do the same with all of our outsourced suppliers. we're basically scorecarding our outsource suppliers. So in my case with footwear stores, our brands, all the different brands that we have in our store, are they a good partner? Are they present in our store? Do they, provide us what we've ordered on time? Do they have good terms? Do they have a good rep? All these different things. Like, what do I want out of a brand in my store, and are they delivering compared to the ones that aren't and are a pain to deal with? It's like, I want to deal less and give less money to those people. I might need them still, but I'm going to do my best to find somebody else to take on the areas of business that they provide us, because I don't want to deal with them. And ultimately, they're not helping my client because they're giving me problems. And if I'm having problems, I can't deliver to my client as well.
Yeah. I agree.
So think about, it's not only the ideal client. There's lots of talk about that, the idea, your client avatar, all that kind of stuff. But think about these other two areas, which are maybe kind of different for you today. Is this idea of your ideal teammate and your ideal outsource supplier, whether it's a marketing company, an accounting firm, a wholesaler, it doesn't matter, but anybody else who's out there to help deliver your promise to your client. And are you aligning with the right people there? Because how important is that? Oh my gosh, it's like super important, right? That's what frees you up. When you have the right people, there's nothing more important than the right people and the right process in order to deliver you your freedom as an entrepreneur.
Right. I mean, we all know that entrepreneurship has its ups and downs, and that some frustrations are inevitable while others are not, right? And those are some of the frustrations that are inevitable. So, what systems have you developed to make your business more self-managing?
Well, setting up this 5P process is definitely one of them, and I call it a turnkey business. But really, here's one of the interesting acronyms that one of my coaches taught me, and it's for the word system. Or you could think of system as a process, but the acronyms for the word system. And a system saves you stress, time, energy, and money. Mm-hmm. A system saves you stress, time, energy, and money. So how many systems do I want in my business? All of them, please. Thank you. So I like to say we're always trying to have perfect processes, but really we're always trying to perfect them, because there are no perfect processes, or rarely are. But we're always trying to tweak and perfect them along the way. So, it's just one of those regular things we go through in our meeting structures. It's like, okay, we've got this process. Is there anything we need to tweak? Is there anything we need to change a little bit to make it a little bit more efficient? Because not only is it more efficient for me as the entrepreneur, it's more efficient for my team. So my goal now, because we've got our business running on rails, we've got things happening, and it's systematized. But my goal now is to free up all of the time, and as much time as I can, for all of my team. Right. So that's the next step. Once you can get free of some of these things, assign accountabilities, because that's the big piece, right? We address them. We assess these things, we address them, and then we assign accountability so that we can advance, right? And once you can't assign accountability if that process isn't in tip-top shape, because it'll never be done, and everybody will always be coming back to you for the answers all the time. So until you can hand off something so that it's done in a way that you need to have it done every time consistently, then that's when you can assign accountability to someone else. And it's like, you own this now. It's off my plate. It's on your plate. And, I like this idea of Gino Wickman in the book Traction wrote around the idea of having an accountability chart instead of an organizational chart. And for me, that's an interesting concept, because when you start laying these accountabilities and you say, well, I don't actually own that. Why are you asking me that question? That's one of the frustrations for most entrepreneurs, right? They're being asked every single question. Well, my philosophy is the exact opposite. I want to have accountabilities and questions answered at the very lowest level of my operation, not at the highest level, so that we're freeing up not only me, but everybody else in that system of having to answer these questions that can be dealt with because the processes are in place.
Makes sense. What do you think is more difficult, managing yourself or managing a business? And how much do you think that those two aspects are linked?
Um, I'm not a great manager of a business. That's why I hire managers. Um, I have a different sort of philosophy around that, where I'm more of a visionary type person, not a managerial type person. So I come up with the ideas, I work through all that sort of stuff. But if you ask me to manage them and process manage them, that's not my cup of tea. I would sooner have someone else do that. So for me, I have a harder time managing myself than I do, and making sure that I stay on point, because as entrepreneurs, we don't have anybody to tell us what to do.
Hmm. That's hard sometimes. I mean,
And that's a big part of my job as a coach with Simplifying Entrepreneurship, is that I'm working with all these other entrepreneurs who really, if most entrepreneurs, their partner at home doesn't want to hear about it anymore. Like, they're tired of hearing about it, right? Their friends typically, especially if they're not other business owners, have no idea what you're talking about. And their teams at work, as much as you have an open door policy and open communication and all that sort of stuff, they generally don't give you the full truth how they see it, because ultimately you're still responsible for their paycheck, and they don't want to disappoint and have it reflect upon their jobs and their duties and things like that. And so who do you talk to as an entrepreneur if you don't have somebody to bounce ideas around and all this other stuff? And so, from that perspective, and who does keep you accountable? Well, in my case, I've had many coaches along the way that do that, and that's what I do for a lot of my clients. When we have our weekly chats or our biweekly chats, it's sit down. It's like, okay, last week you told me here are your 3 priorities. Did you accomplish them? How far along did we get? And we have that chat. We go through that sort of stuff, and we bounce around different ideas, because often they just don't have somebody to actually do that with, who's sort of outside of the business, outside of their family, outside of their friend group, who can give a different opinion on things, and have let's call it an outsider's view. So from that perspective, that's certainly a chunk of the coaching that I do as well these days.
yeah, I think accountability is super important. And
Mm-hmm.
I've just come up with a new um, program, because for years didn't really want to have a group program, because I felt like a lot of people inside a group program, they they are just lost. They're not really doing anything, and they're not gaining so much from a group program. At least that was my experience. So what I wanted to do, I still wanted to leverage the time and the synergy inside a group. Now, the new idea is to create this nice little mastermind group with a one-on-one component, because what I see a lot of people struggling with are the things that we talked about today, like how do you effectively manage yourself? How do you become a better leader? And for me, those things are, if you want fast and lasting transformation, there has to be this one-on-one component where you have tailored high-level support. And to me, that's one-on-one support where I can really dive deep with the client, and we go into specifically what's holding them back, which might be completely different from what's holding someone else inside the group back. But then I also want to have that mastermind component where people come together, as you said, and they get a different perspective from people with different backgrounds who are all there to support each other. So this is something that I'm really looking forward to, because I think that it really brings together the best of both worlds. Which brings me to the next question, which is, what kind of people do you think that leaders should surround themselves with? We kind of
Well,
touched
just
on that, but yeah. So.
yeah, just to kind of go back, I do what you just mentioned. Have small group settings and then the breakouts as well. It's a fantastic way, and I think you'll experience some real success with your clients. They'll enjoy the group side of things as well as the individual. So I think that's a great plan, Claudia. I think you're going to do well with that for sure. It's something that we do, and it works quite well. So your question was,
What kind of people should leaders surround themselves with?
Well, I mean, everybody's heard it before. You are the sort of
Five.
figuring of the 5 or 6 people that you hang out with most.
Yeah.
So I believe that. I believe it. And, you want to be hanging out with people who are doing what you want to do, who are ahead of you, not behind you in your life's ambitions and goals, so that you can understand and learn from them on how they've achieved what they've achieved. And, I've got a great exercise that I do with a lot of my clients, and it really goes around, name a bunch of qualities around the people that you love the most, name them, and then name a bunch of qualities around the people that you don't necessarily know, but you admire. And so you come up with this big list of qualities. And it's like, now you know who you are, because that's what you want. You want to emulate those people, and understanding what that is allows you the opportunity to go and find more people that are like that, so that you can build a better life and build a better business and, be around those people. And the interesting thing that I've found is that most people who are successful want to help you be successful too.
That's so true. It's more about collaboration than it is about competition, right?
Yeah. They want to share their successes. They want to share some of the things that they've done wrong so that you don't. I mean, there are people out there who aren't like that, but for the most part, I think, people want you to do well in your business, and they will do what they can do to help you along the way. And one of the things from an entrepreneurial perspective is sometimes we're either too ashamed, embarrassed, or uncomfortable with asking. And it's okay to ask. And it's okay to go out and ask advice of someone and ask opinion of someone who you respect and admire, because they're probably going to really want to help you, genuinely want to help you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And last but not least, where can our listeners find out more about you or connect with you online?
Yeah. So if you Google Simplifying Entrepreneurship, I know it's a long one, but Simplifying Entrepreneurship, you'll get my website. And we've got a great business assessment on the website right now, which when you click it, takes about 50 multiple choice questions, and it gives you back between a 50 to 60 page PDF of all of the great things you're doing in your business and the things you need to work on. So it's a good starting point. It's a good benchmark of some of the stuff you need to work on. And from a social side of things, you can email me at pete@mohr.coach. That's mohr.coach. And I'm most active on LinkedIn and social on Instagram. So those are a couple of other areas. Just search Pete Mohr, MOHR, and you'll find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pete, for sharing all those gold nuggets with us today. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed talking with you today.
Thanks, Claudia. It's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.